going to get to Caitlin Clark fans and the nuclear backlash that A'ja Wilson is getting right now over the the reveal of her Nike signature.
A'ja Wilson just got a brutal reality check that will echo through her entire career. After 2 years of taking aim at Caitlin Clark, the player she thought she owned the league over, Team USA delivered the ultimate, definitive slap in the face. They threw Wilson right off the selection roster and formally handed Clark a starting spot in the senior national pool for both the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics. We've got the full breakdown of Wilson's epic meltdown and the single fatal flaw in her game that the WNBA establishment never told you about. Do you think Wilson deserved to be kicked off Team USA? Let us know down in the comments below.
Oh, if you're taken aback by that, if you're like, wait a minute, that didn't compute. What about all of the A'ja Wilson Nike outrage last year that subjected not only Caitlin Clark, but her fans to all kinds of rape?
It's truly hard to imagine being one of the greatest players in the WNBA, a true face of the league, only to have your most prestigious opportunities snatched away. But that is exactly what happened to A'ja Wilson. The woman who genuinely believed her name was synonymous with women's basketball just received a very public and incredibly painful lesson that reputation is definitely not a contract. Team USA's decision to exclude her and instead include Caitlin Clark in the selection pool wasn't merely about statistics. No, this was a cold, hard evaluation of which player's game actually translates to global, high-stakes competition. The result is a perfect example what happens when you substitute raw skill for pure spectacle and character for outright chaos.
Costs her team.
Great pass by Chelsea Gray into A'ja Wilson. Foul gets called.
Now, here's one of the biggest secrets in the WNBA, the one the old guard conveniently ignores, the fatal flaw in Wilson's game. She absolutely runs on special whistles, not pure, unadulterated skill. Just look at her free throw attempts. She averages nearly 12 per game. That isn't a sign of an unstoppable force. It's a clear sign of a player who has masterfully perfected the art of selling contact to referees. Every single drive to the basket includes an exaggerated flail, and many defensive contests result in a dramatic appeal for a foul call. WNBA referees have been protecting offensive players like Wilson for years, essentially allowing her to become an offensive machine powered by consistently favorable officiating. It's a genius strategy for the WNBA, sure, but internationally, it's a crippling liability.
A'ja, it looked like they really were intentional about going to Aaliyah in the second half. What was, I guess, difficult about containing her? I know you guys kind of touched on a few things, maybe with the foul calls, but what made it successful for them to keep going to her tonight?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask Aaliyah that question. I honestly, you just do your work. You got to do your work early and make it different. But Aaliyah did say I have a special whistle. And she shot 13 today.
She said that to you?
Yeah. Yeah. She said the last game I had a special whistle, which is cool. So we just got to play their better defense, make her look a little difficult, and kind of go from there.
All right, thank you all.
Team USA coaches and scouts weren't watching her WNBA highlight reels. Oh no, they were intently watching her international exhibition games, and what they saw absolutely horrified them. FIBA referees simply don't care about your MVP trophies. They allow a level of physical play that would send Wilson to the free throw line a dozen times in an Aces versus Fever matchup, but which results in a simple play-on internationally. The physical, flowing style of international basketball brutally exposes any player who relies on the officials to create their offense.
Wilson. Lots of folks are talking about A'ja Wilson. You know, the player on the team where people are abandoning like rats off a sinking ship. You know, A'ja Wilson, who has won 2 championships in the WNBA. A'ja Wilson, who was crowned MVP before the 2024 season started. A'ja Wilson, you know, she's a really good basketball player. But back to culture. I wouldn't want Asia Wilson on my team, or maybe I should turn it around. Since she's Asia Wilson, I wouldn't want to be on Asia Wilson.
And that, my friends, brings us to the stark contrast with Caitlin Clark. Clark operates on a completely different plane of existence. She's pulling up from 30 feet out and draining shots that absolutely no referee can take away from her. When defenders make contact, she finishes right through it, often not even looking for the whistle. Her signature step-back three-pointers and deep-range shots are purely self-reliant offense. She beats defenders with incredible shot selection, an elite basketball IQ, and phenomenal footwork, a skill set that translates perfectly to any court in the world, regardless of who is holding the whistle. Team USA scouts watched Wilson's scoring efficiency absolutely plummet during international play when the officials allowed real physical defense. Her production dropped dramatically because the specific, marginal calls she had grown to rely on simply evaporated. Meanwhile, Clark's numbers stayed rock solid. Why? Because her game is built on creating separation with a high release point and an insane shooting range, not by initiating marginal contact to draw fouls. The difference isn't subtle, it's screamingly obvious. Wilson initiates contact, then waits for the whistle, practically praying for the free throw line. Clark, however, anticipates the contact, and then adjusts her shot to score through it. Wilson's method is perfect for the highly controlled, offense-friendly WNBA. Clark's method, it's perfect for everywhere, because it's built on fundamental, unassailable skill, rather than gaming a specific rule set. International basketball demands adaptability. FIBA games are less interrupted, more physical, and officials generally allow both teams to play through contact. Wilson's foul-baiting techniques become massive liabilities because her scoring rhythm is entirely dependent on constant interruptions and favorable calls that never materialize. Team USA coaches desperately need players who can adjust their approach based on the varied officiating styles they'll encounter in different countries. Wilson's dependence on specific WNBA officiating makes her a giant, unnecessary risk for the Olympics. Clark's self-reliant, unguardable scoring ability makes her a guaranteed asset in any basketball environment. The choice wasn't just clear. It was an absolute no-brainer. One player required a specific set of favorable conditions to succeed, while the other player simply creates her own success with pure, raw basketball ability. So, how did the former face of the league react to being told she was no longer needed by her country's team? In a single word, explosively. Wilson thought December would be another month of collecting trophies and endless praise. Instead, she got hit with news that completely shattered her sense of entitlement. Team USA dropped their preliminary selection pool for the upcoming evaluation camps, and Wilson's name was conspicuously absent. Sources close to the Aces organization described her reaction as an epic emotional meltdown that apparently lasted for multiple days. The player, who had spent the last 2 years believing she was untouchable, discovered she got replaced by the exact person she spent that same time trying to undermine and tear down. Clark, conversely, received her invitation to the senior national team pool, while Wilson got left out entirely. The irony is absolutely delicious when you remember Wilson spent countless hours on social media questioning Clark's very right to even exist in the spotlight. Wilson immediately started making desperate phone calls to Team USA, demanding an explanation for her exclusion. She reportedly went through multiple contacts within USA Basketball, desperately trying to figure out how this betrayal could have possibly happened. Her representatives were running around trying to schedule last-minute meetings with coaching staff members who had already moved on to evaluating the players who actually made the cut. Meanwhile, Clark was receiving a flood of congratulatory messages from teammates, coaches, and fans, all celebrating her chance to represent her country. Her response was one of typical, unflashy grace and humility, simply expressing gratitude and excitement to learn from the veteran. The contrast in their reactions is a complete, unscripted documentary on their fundamental differences in character. Clark posted a simple thank you message, without taking shots or demanding anything. Wilson's camp, however, started floating transparently ridiculous stories about scheduling conflicts and prior commitments that supposedly prevented her from participating. Nobody bought those pathetic attempts to save face after she was so publicly cut. The true consequences of Wilson's toxic 2-year campaign against Clark were revealed in that moment. Team USA coaches had been watching her behavior all along. Every passive-aggressive comment, every cryptic social media post, every interview jab against Clark was noted by officials who explicitly prioritized team chemistry and professional conduct. Wilson's constant attacks on the league's biggest star demonstrated the precise brand of toxic attitude that absolutely destroys locker rooms and national team unity. Clark's reaction to Wilson's constant petty harassment only strengthened her case for inclusion. She never responded with personal attacks. She focused on her game and let her performance speak for itself, while Wilson simply wasted her energy on negativity and jealousy. The message from Team USA is clear and sharp. Toxic behavior has real, undeniable consequences. They chose character over chaos. They chose professionalism over pettiness. They chose team builders over team destroyers. Wilson's furious tantrum about her exclusion actually proved the coaches made the right decision. A player who cannot handle not being selected for a roster certainly cannot handle the intense global pressure of representing her country on the world stage. Her emotional breakdown proved she completely lacks the mental toughness required for international competition. Clark earned her spot through sheer talent and unwavering character, while Wilson lost hers through poor judgment and blinding jealousy. The player who couldn't handle fan criticism definitely couldn't represent American basketball with the grace and dignity the role demanded. Wilson felt completely secure when she decided to begin her sustained attack on Clark back in. She had her MVP awards, her rings, and the media-anointed title of the face of women's basketball. Every thinly veiled tweet and passive-aggressive comment felt justified to someone who genuinely believed she owned the spotlight. Wilson and her allies convinced themselves they were protecting the integrity of the WNBA from the overwhelming media attention Clark was receiving. Wilson started liking posts, questioning Clark's legitimacy, and shared content that highlighted veteran accomplishments directly over Clark's record-breaking moments. USA basketball officials were watching every interaction with a cold, professional eye. They noticed how Wilson responded to Clark's success with skepticism instead of celebration. When Clark received Time magazine's Athlete of the Year award, Wilson's social media activity showed doubt and resentment rather than genuine support for women's basketball getting such massive mainstream recognition. They took careful note of who was working to build up the sport and who was actively trying to tear a competitor down. Wilson's interviews grew increasingly pointed as Clark's popularity exploded. She started throwing around phrases like real impact and sustained excellence in ways that were clearly designed to diminish Clark's achievement. She questioned Clark's actual influence on the sport, a hilarious sentiment considering Clark was single-handedly selling out every arena she played in and bringing millions of new fans to women's basketball. Wilson's social media posts tell the definitive story. She shared statistics about veteran scoring records in a direct, petty response to Clark's coverage. She simply could not handle that someone more marketable, more talented, and more universally appealing was changing the conversation around women's basketball. She turned every Clark achievement into a personal attack on her own legacy, making Clark's success about herself, instead of celebrating what it meant for the entire sport. Team USA coaches watched this behavior for 2 full years before making their final roster decision. They saw exactly which player would represent the country with class and which player would create unnecessary, self-centered drama. Wilson essentially wrote her own exit letter from the national program with every jealous, passive-aggressive comment. She thought she was protecting her reputation, but she was actively destroying her standing with the national team leadership. The player who couldn't celebrate another woman's success definitely couldn't represent her country with the professionalism required. Wilson created the exact narrative that ultimately got her kicked off Team USA. Her 2-year campaign against Clark backfired so spectacularly, it's almost a comedy. She irreparably damaged her own reputation while simultaneously making Clark look even better by comparison. Clark received her coveted Team USA invitation while Wilson was still making angry phone calls to anyone who would listen. Clark immediately started preparing for the evaluation camp with the same quiet work ethic that made her a college legend. She understood this opportunity was more than just making a roster. It was stepping into the role Wilson thought belonged to her permanently. The chemistry between Clark and Aaliyah Boston, which developed from their college rivalry and mutual respect, gives Team USA a foundational strength Wilson's towering ego could never have provided. Wilson's personality would have demanded that everything revolve around her individual success. Team USA coaches now see Clark as the perfect ambassador for American basketball on the global stage. Her professionalism in the face of Wilson's attacks proved she can handle pressure without creating drama, while Wilson demonstrated the exact opposite quality. The upcoming evaluation camp will serve as Clark's official coronation as the new global face of women's basketball. Wilson's dramatic exclusion sends a clear, powerful message to every WNBA player about what Team USA truly values. Statistical achievements matter, yes, but character, conduct, and global marketability carry equal weight when you are representing your country. Players who build up women's basketball get rewarded. Players who tear down their competitors get left behind. Wilson chose jealousy over leadership and paid the highest possible price. Clark's appeal extends far beyond American borders in ways Wilson's brand never could. International fans fell in love with Clark's deep-range shooting and competitive spirit during her college run. She brings excitement and an unselfish athleticism that translates across all cultures and languages. Wilson's more one-dimensional approach to her brand focused primarily on established basketball fans, not on the crucial task of growing a new global audience. The 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics will now showcase Clark's leadership on basketball's biggest stages. Team USA coaches plan to build their system around her unique skill set and unparalleled basketball IQ. Wilson's drama would have created nothing but unnecessary distractions during preparation and competition. Clark's focus remains locked on the team's success, never on individual recognition. The 2026 World Cup just became appointment television, with Clark leading a new generation that values teamwork over toxic competition. The selection pool roster tells the entire story without speaking a single word. Wilson's furious reaction confirmed every suspicion the coaches already had about her character and fitness to represent the country. She couldn't handle the consequences of her own actions, which is the final piece of evidence Team USA needed to move on completely. Clark, the professional, gets ready for camp, while Wilson, the angry former star, has to watch from the sidelines. The era of the special whistle player is over. The era of pure unguardable skill has officially begun. Do you think Wilson deserved to be kicked off Team US? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out on our coverage. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.